Just about everybody else has had their say on my interview with Nick Fuentes this week, with the notable exception of me. There's been columns in newspapers and magazines, endless hours of YouTube commentary, hundreds of thousands of posts on X, plus the inevitable swarm of groyper weirdos following me everywhere online. All of that was to be expected. Fuentes is highly controversial and increasingly influential, which is why I invited him on in the first place. What I didn't really expect was the frenetic and compulsive pearl clutching from Fuentes and his troll army, who ironically accused me of doing exactly the same thing during the interview. Fuentes and his followers are particularly upset about this. There was an episode of your podcast where you talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant. No Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And you also shared another story about your family and restaurants. Said before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N-word that we're not allowed to say. So my question, based on that anecdote that you say on your own podcast, is do you think you grew up in a racist environment, that your father was inherently racist, and that thought process moved to you? Well, Fuentes responded by getting very worked up and directing his trolls to harass me and all my family, all very predictable.
You want to go after families? We could play that game. Your family's greenlit then too, Piers. Your family's greenlit as well. So, fuck you and your family. Fuck you and fuck your kids. You bring my dad into it?
But Nick, if you clutch those pearls any harder, they will bruise the back of your neck. To be clear, again, this wasn't a low blow or a trap or an attack on Bill Fuentes. It was a question about a story which I thought could be insightful. And it was a story that Nick Fuentes decided to share on his own show to his own followers.
My dad refused to allow us. My dad would not let us go. That was a common joke. We would be deciding where to go to eat. You know, what are we going to get for dinner tonight? And it was a running joke that me and my sister would say, Applebee's, and my dad would say, no, we will never eat at Applebee's. So, yeah, so not in a million years she'd be caught dead. Go to some other place. Go to a different restaurant. Go to a local restaurant. So yeah, no Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N-word that, you know, we're not allowed to say, that my parents wouldn't say around me and my sister. about Olive Garden, its relationship with black people. It contains a bad word, contains a naughty word in there, so I'm not going to repeat it here. But yeah, but we don't eat there.
So that's Nick Fuentes, in his own words, telling the story that he objected to me asking him about.
Okay, Piers, we know this now. Like, seriously, Piers Morgan is obsessed with Nick Fuentes. Why? He made now 5-6 videos about him. Now he even makes a new video about this. And then he is again gonna talk about these clips. First of all, these clips are very old. Secondly, you take these clips completely out of context. We don't know what he said before and what he said after this. And don't get me wrong, what he said is not good. Like, you should not agree with this. Like, let me make this very clear. But I'm just getting so annoyed by the fact that Piers Morgan talked about this for like 1.5 hours almost. And now in this new episode, he's gonna talk about this again. Does he not have anything else to talk about? Maybe you should ask some questions for Nick. Like, instead of like playing these old clips, you can also ask him some questions. Why are you like this? Did you change? What is your America First movement now? Like, Piers Morgan, he is such a plant. I feel like, is he like reading from an auto cue as well? Like does this guy even think with his own brain, or is he literally just reading an auto cue? It's so weird.
Well, one of my objectives for the interview was to find out a bit more about this guy who's at the center of a big raging storm amid the conservative movement in America right now? Is he just performative, outrageous, and attention-seeking? Or does he really believe the most incendiary things that he says? And if the answer to that question is yes, how did he get there? Having interviewed people for nearly 4 decades now, I find their upbringing is almost always influential one way or another. And if you don't want other people to talk about it, then why talk about it very publicly yourself? There are many more interesting points of debate from this interview, from crime stats and racism to generational divides to Holocaust denial. We get to all of them, and will do with my panel shortly. But this one small exchange has, for me, really made a bigger point. What Fuentes and his fans hate most is any accountability. It's all about speaking unchallenged into an echo chamber where there's a whole movement built on directing blame and anger onto everybody else. Girls don't like you because they're difficult. Your neighborhood's in decline because of the black people. The world is corrupt because of the Jews, and so on. Now, he's angry about this story being shared because, in fact, he shared it himself. It wasn't a game or a trick to question Nick Fuentes about the words of Nick Fuentes. That was the whole point of the interview. Well, I'll be joined by a stellar panel in a moment. We'll begin with Dr. Phil, host of The Real Story. Dr. Phil, great to have you back on Uncensored, as always. What do you make of Nick Fuentes?
Well, a lot. And I first have to say, I commend you for doing this interview. I know some people say, why would you platform this person? I think it took courage for you to put him on. And I'm glad that you did, because if there's not an adult in the room to ask the hard questions and hold these type of voices accountable, then they just run unchecked.
Right.
And you saw what happened here. I spent a lot of time doing trial science work in the litigation arena, and we always say your story goes a lot better if you're the only one telling it. And that's what people mean when they talk about echo chambers and living in a bubble. And what you did was hold him accountable for what he says.
Right.
And of course, that's not near as much fun when a narcissist is not in a room full of people that are nodding along with them. And you just said, listen, I'm not going to introduce anything new here. I'm going to ask you about what you said and let you explain what you said. And there was no ambush here. He could have predicted with great accuracy what you were going to ask. You just ask it in a very critical thinking sort of way. And that was very uncomfortable for him because someone was holding him to account. And thank you for doing that.
Where is Dr. Phil talking about? Like, seriously, first of all, Nick Fuentes won this debate. He was 10 times better, sharper than Piers Morgan. So I don't know, like, why he is like. Secondly, Piers Morgan did try to ambush him 2 times. Like, it wasn't like completely a setup. They tried to like trick Nick Fuentes, but he didn't fall for it. So Nick literally stood his own ground. So he did a very good job. And now, like, we have Dr. Phil analyzing Nick Fuentes. Seriously, is this the point we arrived at now? Like, how much did Piers pay Dr. Phil? Like, come on. Dr. Phil analyzing Nick Fuentes, like, what a joke, right? What a joke. And then he's talking about an echo chamber. Are you seriously? Like, dude, Nick Fuentes at this point almost has like millions of followers. Millions of followers. I almost believe that Nick Fuentes at this point has more followers than Dr. Phil and Piers Morgan combined. And then you are talking about his narcissistic behavior, that he is living in an echo chamber. Come on, dude. You cannot say this is just like these stupid things, like to try to like say, all right, his supporters are fake, all right, like you cannot trust this guy because he's talking nonsense. No, dude. You can also turn the question other way around. Why do you believe that he's becoming so popular? Why do you believe that? Because not many people trust the mainstream media like this anymore. The uncensored, Piers Morgan uncensored, like, what a joke, bro. And I'm not trying to defend Nick Fuentes or something, but come on. These 2 guys, like, I feel like they have no idea what they're talking about. Like, dude.
Because his opinions that he's spreading are ugly, they're corrosive, they're deeply un-American. And that's the psychology of extremism. I think that he is not empowering young men, he's manipulating them. And Piers, I'm going to take a breath here in a minute and let you comment on what I'm saying, but this is the same algorithm that social media uses. If people like something, they click a little bit. If you can get them worked up about something, they click a whole lot. And that's the same strategy as the algorithm that makes social media so toxic. And that's what he does. And you called him out on that in a very transparent and fair-minded way. You let him tell his story, but you ask about some of the key points.
Yeah, and you know, what was really interesting was I don't think he expected that anecdote about his father to come out so early, or if at all. So he looked a bit taken aback. And the reason I asked it was very specific. You know, I said to him, in all my experience of interviewing people, and you've interviewed as many as I have, Phil, if not more, I really do believe that the vast majority of people are a product of their environment. And if Nick Fuentes, through his own story about his parents there, and particularly his father, if he grew up in an environment of overt racism, with his father saying, I'm not taking you to certain restaurants because they're associated with black fare, then you can begin to understand why he himself has become overtly racist and indeed is proud of it. So to me, it was a very relevant question. But again, it can't be an ambush if all I'm doing is asking him about a story he himself put in the public domain.
Well, he did introduce it into the public domain with great fanfare and having a great time doing it. Look, the most powerful role model in any child's life is the same-sex parent. They write on the slate of who their children are, and they start doing that from a very early age. And they write on the slate emotionally, socially, in terms of values, thinking process. So you're quite right to bring that up. If you want to know who someone is, you need to look at from whence they came. And that doesn't mean they don't have a chance to alter that when they get other worldviews, but certainly that's a relevant subject matter that he introduced. He just introduced it when no one was calling him out or questioning him about it. And it was interesting to me how quickly he put on the victim hat and started retreating. I thought it came across as very whiny, immature, insecure, and inadequate. And he said he was a racist. He said he was an incel. He used that term. He introduced that. And, you know, that's defined as very misogynistic and resentful and blaming of others, blaming women, blaming minorities, blaming Jews. He's blaming so many other people, which is strange for someone that's in a leadership position to try to do.
Like, what is this? This is not Piers Morgan Uncensored. This is like Piers Morgan, the woke show or something. Like, where are these two adults talking about? Like, these old guys, I feel like they have never watched one show of Nick Fuentes. Like, seriously, they only have seen these out of context clips, and then they are saying that he is immature and that he is like behaving like weird, he is insecure. No, dude, like, seriously, you should ask yourself, if you're insecure, why are you like live streaming every day with your face on the internet and talking about these topics? Like, seriously. And of course, like, I can agree with some things what he said. I completely agree with the fact that some things what Nick Fuentes is saying, it's not smart to say this. It's like not good to talk about this. I agree. That's true, but you can also respect this, that he is like the only one of the few people who are actually talking about this, and then you have many people who support this kind of idea where he's talking about it, and you should ask yourself why, because maybe you don't hear these kind of stories in the mainstream media, maybe because he's one of the few people with an opinion like that, and then like these two guys are gonna roast him, like the mainstream nerd 1 and mainstream nerd 2. Like, come on, like, what are we doing? These guys, they got like billions of dollars or millions of dollars in their pocket because they just work for these mainstream media companies and they are just puppets of their bosses. And then you have an independent guy like Nick Fuentes, and you're gonna tell him that he's insecure and that he is like come on, what, like, this is just so low belling. And then also saying, yeah, you got him, you really got him, you held him hostage, or he was like playing the victim card. No, he is not. The only thing he said that it's weird that you bring up his dad if his dad is not there to defend himself, and this is right. Why are you gonna talk about his dad if his dad is not there in the show? Like, you're talking with Nick, you're not talking with his dad. And maybe that you can say, yeah, but this is the person who raised you. Yes, so what? It doesn't say anything about Nick Fuentes, right? The son of Elon Musk is a transgender. Does that have anything to do with Elon Musk? Do you think Elon Musk supports this? No. So it has nothing to do with the son has to be the same as their dad. What a nonsense.
You know, I asked him about his own sex life, right? Because it seems to be relevant, because of this whole belief that he runs a group of incels, you know, who are involuntary celibates, supposedly. And this is how the exchange went down. Are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
See, basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow
fossil.
old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid. Wow.
That's the thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think
always
you're an
get
expert
laid,
in women,
free love.
given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right. This, you know, you're talking about empathy, and your kids are empathetic, and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust, and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem.
And what was interesting, Phil, he went on to admit he'd never been in love, never had any meaningful relationship with a woman, and yet he's so misogynist in his rhetoric about women, so demeaning about them. You know, I talked there earlier in the interview, which is why I referred it again, about how he'd said on his show that women, the trouble is they're not just annoying, they get old, they get ugly, they get fat, and so on. Now, really demeaning, horrible language about women. But not difficult to work out why he would feel this way if he's never had any real interaction with them.
Okay, this is the first time I agree with Piers Morgan a little bit. Or I don't agree with him, but it's kind of weird if you're 27 years old and you didn't have sex yet. It's kind of weird, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. And maybe Nick is just a conservative guy and he has like his morals. So then I respect that. I am not blaming him for that. But it is kind of weird. There's not many people from that age who has that. But that's aside. Who is Piers Morgan? Like, does he actually not understand that Nick is joking around about like these women and things? You see the face he is like, he's like, yeah, Piers, you're right. Yeah. And Piers is like, oh, really? You think like this? Really? You actually think like this? And Nick is like, yeah, dude, you're right. Like, does he not see that Nick is like joking around? Or maybe he's not even joking, but he's not even serious at this point. He is just making fun of Piers Morgan. And Piers Morgan is like, all right, good. I get the answers I want. Yeah, very good. I finally like can expose Nick Fuentes on like the World Wide Web. Dude, he was joking with you and you don't even see this. And this just shows you how smart you are, Piers Morgan. You're just a plant. Sorry. I don't want to attack Piers Morgan in this whole video because maybe some people, they agree with Piers Morgan. This is also fine. I respect that. But in my opinion, Piers Morgan just took a big L and Nick Fuentes took a big W. Like, seriously, Nick did a good job and Piers Morgan, he just made a fool of himself in this interview. Just the way how he asked these questions. Oh, right, you didn't get laid, right? Dude, this is a 27-year-old guy who just like tries to save this country. I think he worries about more things than that.
It's very transparent. And I mean, these go back to some of the oldest parables in the world. You're talking about sour grapes here, and this is someone that has gotten into a comfort zone where he doesn't interact, he doesn't have relationships that call on him to engage in meaningful conversation with women, learn what they're about and who they are. It's easy to sit up in the cheap seats and criticize. And of course, we know the talent pool in this world at every level. If we took women out of the talent pool in this world, we would be crippled so bad. Look at what's happening in medicine, technology, so many areas that if you look at the enrollment in universities right now, women have eclipsed men. He is so uninformed in his views, and the problem is you get in these cult-like communities where you get people that maybe haven't had a good role model in their lives and have someone like him who can be entertaining, can be charismatic. He's a nice-looking young man. And people, young men will follow that if they don't have good father figures in their own life. In the absence of real leadership, they'll follow almost anyone.
Excuse me, but where is Dr. Phil talking about? He is acting like he's talking like he knows Nick Fuentes. He doesn't know anything about him. Like, how do you not know? Maybe he has like multiple good relationships with his mom, with his dad. Maybe he has many friends. Like, this guy is talking like Nick Fuentes is just like a loner who sits at his room alone. Like, he doesn't even know him. Nick Fuentes knows a lot of people. Like, every day he is like with people if I look at him. What is this for weird kind behavior? Like, Dr. Phil is literally acting like he knows almost everything about Nick Fuentes. Meanwhile, he doesn't know shit. And then you have like these theories that, okay, this is all fine, dude, but Nick Fuentes is not an average guy. Nick Fuentes is like different than most of us. Like, he's a very smart guy. Also, then he said like he is uninformed. He doesn't know a lot. Dude, Nick Fuentes is one of the most smartest guys I've literally seen in like a long time. Like, this guy knows a lot. You can say whatever you want about him. You don't have to agree with him. But you can't say that he is stupid or uninformed. Like, this guy knows a lot, bro. And again, like, I'm not trying to like make this like I'm not a groupie of Nick Fuentes or something, but it's just so stupid to see. Like, especially Piers Morgan, he lost this debate and he's acting like he's the king of the debate, dude. It's completely the other way around.
If they present well, and that's a problem. And mothers and fathers, families need to be asking, what can I do to fortify my young men against this kind of exploitation? And that's why people should be standing up and applauding you, exposing with great transparency what's going on here with this Nick Fuentes phenomenon.
Well, all I wanted to do, honestly, was to work out whether it was all performative or whether he really believes a lot of the things that he says. And by the end, I concluded he does actually believe a lot of this stuff. And
I think he does. I think he believes some of it.
But what I wasn't expecting, Phil, which I was really quite shocked by, and it takes a lot to shock me, but the sheer volume and venom on social media of his so-called groypers, these young men that adhere to his every word, who he kind of unleashes on people. It was unbelievably brazen in its misogyny, in its racism, in its anti-Semitism. It was some of the most vile stuff I've seen in a long time. And it was relentless and has carried on. And targeting me, targeting members of my family, whatever. I don't care. I'm used to it. I've had a lot worse, actually, than this. They remind me of a bunch of mean boys at school. And, obviously I'm 60 years old. It's not going to wash the sides, this kind of thing. However, it was noticeable to me that they were almost to a man, young, male, misogynist, racist, and anti-Semitic, and view everything he says as sacrosanct. This is a kind of brainwashed world. The only question I don't know is how much of them are genuine human beings and how much maybe, as has been reported today in the New York Post, foreign bots that are unleashed. Because they analyze the speed of reaction to stuff that he posts, and they've worked out a lot of it comes from overseas, and a lot of it may be bots, actual robots doing this stuff.
These bot farms now, there was a time when people would use these bots and they would deploy them by the hundreds. But now our research shows that these bot farms, a lot of them out of Russia and some other foreign countries, are deployed in the tens of thousands. And what happens is they start kind of a zeitgeist on the internet, and then others, real people, see that, and then they start jumping on the bandwagon. And so it can drive a social media kind of think can drive social media to appear that it's thinking a certain way. But I'm sure in the middle of that, he has followers that do echo what he's saying. And it's whiny, it's immature, it's insecure, it's highly transparent. And you wonder what's going to happen to these young men if somebody doesn't force them into some critical thinking where they say, listen, what's the end result here? Where does this lead me in my life? As opposed to opening themselves up to some real interaction and some real critical thinking where they say, what do I want? What's my goal in life? Do I want to have a family? Do I want to have children? Do I want to have a meaningful career where I can fit into a fully functional society? And if they stay on this path, they're going to be lonely, depressed, anxious, inadequate, with a false sense of superiority that is very, very empty, very, very meaningless. And
Dude, sorry, but I cannot watch this any longer. Where is Dr. Phil talking about? Like, Nick Fuentes is like completely the opposite. He will tell you, start families, make children. He is literally saying the opposite. I feel like almost the governments are telling us or make it almost impossible to start a family. Nick Fuentes is talking about these things. He's literally saying that it's almost now impossible to start a family because of like many governments and what they are doing. And then you have Dr. Phil who is saying that if you follow Nick Fuentes that you will be lonely. Come on, dude. What an horrible... And as well, if they were talking about these bot farms, like this just shows you the state of these two old guys. They actually believe that, for example, the people who place comments under this videos like this from Piers Morgan, that they are bots. Believe me, I can tell you whatever you want, but those people are not bots. You have just so many people who actually support Nick. Just the people who watch my channel as well. Like, they probably will also, some of the people I know who are watching this, they also left a comment behind at Piers Morgan's show. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then you have like these old boomers who believe that everything is a bot farm from Russia. Dude, why would Russia have spent money on a bot farm for Nick Fuentes? Why would they even do this? Like, can you just imagine how these people think? This just shows you. And I'm going to end it with this because I don't even have to add anything. This just said it all. A bot farm from Russia who is supporting Nick Fuentes and who is placing these comments. Like, what a joke. What a joke. But again, my opinion. I'm very curious about your opinion. Like, I'm always like, this is just funny. This is just like almost like a comedy. Like, you could not make this up. Dr. Phil and Piers Morgan analyzing Nick Fuentes. What a joke. But again, I'm curious about your opinion. Like, do you agree with Dr. Phil and Dr. Piers Morgan? Or do you agree with Nick? I'm very curious. Please share your opinion in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And last but not least, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Dr. Phil. Ciao, ciao.